Hey y'all, it's Amanda. Welcome back to my channel, and this is going to be my December wrap-up. So, 2022, I ended up the year with 146 books read. How awesome. Like, y'all, that's the most books I've ever read, like ever. So I was really excited to finish up with 146. This year my goal is 75. Here we are with a December wrap up. I've already done a mid-month wrap up, so if you haven't seen that, I'll link that as well. But this month I ended up reading 18 books. What? Who am I? So yeah, it was a really great reading month. Of course, a lot of them were short books, right? Like December, you have tons of just novellas and Christmas reads. They're always really quick to read, all the things. So yeah, it sounds like a lot, but you know, they're really short books. So, but still, December was the month that I read the most and just had a really great reading month. So yeah, let's go ahead and talk about the books that I need to talk about. So the first book I want to talk about really quick is an Advent devotional that Miriam from Miriam Elizabeth Reads recommended to me. I loved going through this month. It was just amazing. The Dawn of Redeeming Grace, Daily Devotions for Advent by Sinclair Ferguson. I've never read anything by him, but it was the narration that sold me because it was a Scottish accent and we had a British accent intertwined of a female and the Scottish male. So that was awesome to hear their narration. Each day was just such a blessing. And he really went through the Gospel of Matthew in this, and it was just wonderful to see each day and everything new that he had to say. He walked through the nativity story of Christ and everything that we love about Christmas with Jesus. It was just such a great Advent devotional. I also love that we had like some prayers and hymns thrown in as well. It was just really great to listen to every day. So yeah, thank you, Miriam, because your girl loved it. So the next book I read was A Holiday by Gaslight by Mimi Matthews. I give this 4 out of 5 stars. Had so much fun with this. It was just a cute historical fiction Christmas novella, and it's set in the Victorian time. So much fun. A buddy read this with several lovely ladies, and we all generally enjoyed it. It was so much fun. But this is all about Sophie and Edward. Well, Sophie and Ned, I guess you could say. The book pretty much opens up with Sophie breaking up with Edward. So you're kind of like, wait, what's going on? So you feel like you've come in the middle of a book, a story, or something. So that was my only confusion at the beginning. But once I got to chapter 6 or 7, I was fine. Sounds like in the beginning of the story that over the past couple of months, they've kind of been courting, and she doesn't really think that they have anything in common. So she's like breaking it off. But then she starts thinking about it, well, with the help of her mama. So she's like, did I just make a hasty decision here? And so she thinks maybe there was more to Edward, Ned, than meets the eye. And so they decide to put the breakup on hold, and they try to get to know each other, and they're being more open and honest. And it was just so cute. Already planned to have Ned come and stay at their family country house over the Christmas holiday. So it was just the perfect opportunity for them to see how well suited they are together. Ned was just so intrigued by Sophie. He was just so interested in her, and it was sweet. There's all this stuff going on with her dad. Like, she's from an upper class, but her dad has spent pretty much all their money trying to make investments and changes into their home, like by gas lines, plumbing, all these different things, which back then you would think, yeah, that's something people really definitely wanted. So, but he's like, got rid of their dowry, I think it was dowry, whatever it was, trust fund, whatever they call it. He got rid of all the money. So they're like, hey, we need to get her married to somebody because we ain't got no money. So it was just wild. But her and Ned, they really start to hit it off and get to know each other, and it was just an adorable Christmas read, and I really want to read more by Mimi Matthews in the future. So the next book I read is a manga called Perfect World. I read the first book in December, and then today, your girl's been like binge reading them. So if you see my Goodreads, you already know. But I binge read 2, 3, 4, and 5 today because I had the ebooks from the library on my iPad here, honey. This manga is crazy. It is so good. I'm really enjoying it, but I'm so frustrated. But anyway, we'll get into that later. So this is December. We ain't talking about right now. So first heard about this from Sky at Read for the Sky, and oh my gosh, y'all. The first one I gave 4 stars. I really enjoyed this. You can tell from the front of the cover that this features a main character who's in a wheelchair. He is disabled, and he is pretty much paralyzed from the waist down. He has spinal issues. There's all these things going on. They're like in their mid-20s, and he meets a girl, Kawana. Is that her name? Kawana. I'm not good with these names, okay, in mangas, but forgive me on that. But you know, but he ends up meeting a girl he used to know in high school at work. They work at an interior design company, all these things, and they connect again. They're reconnecting, and it's just so precious because you don't see a lot of manga like with adult characters. So I personally like that. I think that's what Sky and I were both talking about, is how this is so nice to see adult characters in their life and working and that sort of thing, versus a lot of mangas like younger aged kids and stuff like that, which I ain't read a lot of manga, so who am I to say? And so our main guy is, like I said, he is disabled, and so you know, she's learning all about what has happened in his past, and they're just reconnecting, and it's so nice to see connecting and all these things, and she doesn't really know what to think. Can she formulate a relationship with someone who is disabled and needs so much support? There's all these questions. The representation in this is amazing. You don't see a primary character in a wheelchair many times, so that's really wonderful to see in this. They're going out to eat, they're catching up. It's just so many good things. So I gave this 4 stars, first one. Now, I have read 2 through 5, and just like a preview of the next wrap up, there's so much stuff going down. We got love triangles coming in, we got angst. Oh my goodness, honey, y'all, it's just wild. And I've given the other ones like 3.5 and 3. Like the latest volume, I was like, oh my goodness. So yeah, just like preview on that. But yeah, I really am enjoying this, and I got to finish it like this month. I just can't. I'm getting them all from digitally from the library, and that's wonderful. So yeah, I'm just going to continue on. So the next book I read was Jewel of the Nile by Tessa Afshar. I gave this 4.5 stars. Y'all, this would have been an honorable mention in my favorites of the year video, but you know, that video was already 55 minutes. So I ran out of time. I couldn't have it over an hour, but this really was one of my favorite books last year. It was so much fun, and it was just a really good biblical fiction story. This is all about, and I don't know how you say her name. I want to say, because I listened to part of the audiobook, I want to say it's Caroline, but it's spelled a little bit differently. We're just going to go with that. Charlene, Caroline, whatever you want to say. She was raised as an orphan by her aunt, and no one's pretty much told her anything about her past. She didn't know anything about her father or her mother. She just been in the dark this whole time. Know that she is part Cush and Roman, but she has no idea who her father is. She starts to search for her father after overhearing her grandfather talking to her aunt and learning that her father, who she thought was dead, is actually alive. And so things go on from there. It took place in biblical times during the Acts timeline, I think. I really feel like Tessa just packed so much in this story, y'all. We have this guy Theo that she meets along the way. She's on a boat just trying to travel and figure out everything out about who is her father and why did they hide this story, what is going on. And she meets this guy Theo, and there's a little love story there, and he was such a gentleman. He really cared about helping her along the way throughout everything. He took care of her when things were bad. I really felt like I was on an adventure with these characters. Oh my goodness, y'all. The ending was insane, okay? The queen, everything going on with that, honey, the drama, the tea at the end of this book, let me tell you. I just really love the scenes with the queen, like, she gonna tell him, okay? Like, yeah, but the audiobook I really recommend because I feel like the narrator really did such a good job, like, with the different characters. Queen's voice of this, oh honey, it was so good. Chef's kiss. So yeah, I highly recommend this. If you want a good biblical fiction, I'd recommend it. Okay, so the next book I read was a recommendation from Chrissy at Chrissy's Purple Library, and that is The Personal Librarian, and this is by 2 authors, Marie Benedict and Victoria Christopher Murray. I love this, y'all. This is a historical fiction, and wow. I want to know everything about J.P. Morgan's Personal Librarian, okay, because Belle DeCosta Green, is it Belle? Yeah, Belle DeCosta Green. What a story, y'all. This was such a good historical fiction. I'm so glad that I read this. It really opened my eyes to a lot of things that happened during this time, and just heartbreaking in so many ways. It truly impacted me in so many ways. I'm really invested in knowing everything about her and like the JP Morgan Library, the things I didn't even know in our real life history. If you didn't know, Belle DeCosta Green was JP Morgan's personal librarian from the early 1900s who had to pass as white to be successful during that time in her career. And so she was a Black American, but she passed as white. She had lighter skin, and they lived in New York. They they were able to pass as white, her mom and her family and everything. That's what they did. And it was just, wow, the story and everything that she went through trying to hide that secret throughout her whole career was so impactful. This is a really like a biographical, fictionalized story. So, you know, the authors have taken some liberties, but, and they've thrown in things, about her life that have been assumed and that sort of thing. She pretty much hid her ethnicity the entire time of her career. She had all these struggles and everything just to try to keep that secret safe. And she was so smart. I loved reading about how smart she was, and just seeing her be so successful during this time period was amazing. Even though she passed as white during that time, it's still such an important part of history for us to learn about. She left such an impact on the world today, and it really opened my eyes to the period after the Civil War, and I'm just really glad that I learned all about her. The only reason I gave it 4.5 instead of 5 was there were some parts again in this one, some parts dragged. I'm gonna tell y'all right now, there was some tea in this book too. Like, there was some drama going on in her love life. That was wild. So there's definitely some emotional scenes in here. But I really enjoyed learning all about Belle de Costa Green. So thank you, Chrissy, for recommending this, because girl, it really was a great read. So the next book I read was a recommendation from Miriam, and it's a cozy Christmas mystery, and that is 12 Sleighs of Christmas by Jacqueline Frost. And I gave this 3.5 stars. I rated it up to 4 on Goodreads. This was a really fun Christmas cozy mystery. Had so much fun with this. I really enjoyed it. It's all surrounding Holly White, and her fiance pretty much cancels their wedding, okay? It was a Christmas Eve wedding, and it's 2 weeks before the event. So Holly's like all over the place, like, what's going on? Holly's like devastated, so she ends up going back home to Mistletoe, Maine. We love to see it. She goes back with her heart broken, and so she's spending time with her family and trying to just recoup from all the heartache that she's had, when all of a sudden, president of Mistletoe's History Society ends up dead. Of course, somebody ended up dead. Cozy mystery fashion. Margaret Fenwick, she gone. They find her in the sleigh display at Reindeer Games, which is Holly's family tree farm. Okay, so everything points to her father, because of what she was killed with was some kind of wooden stake that they use in the business to identify trees. And so, again, cozy mystery fashion, we got to try to clear her dad's name. It wasn't her dad, okay? So this guy, again, we have a sheriff. You already know. We always got somebody coming in, right? This sheriff named Evan Gray. Holly starts to sleuth around to figure out what really happened, and then somebody tried to come after her, and so there's kind of like a little romance coming in with the sheriff and Holly. We love to see that, okay? You usually have some kind of romance budding in a cozy. I really liked the romance in this. Yeah, and that's pretty much the rest of it goes on from there. So it was good. I give it 3.5. Lots of cute Christmas vibes in this, okay? I think because I've read so many cozies, this was just fine, but it was really good. You know, when I do a 3.5, 4-star cozy read, hey, I recommend it. It was really good, okay? I think this is a series as well, so yeah, lots of fun. Highly recommend for Christmas. Everything moved around. The Hubs and I filmed a quick video in the middle of this, so I'm back at it here, and you'll be seeing a video with the Hubs soon. 23 books that I gotta read in 2023. I let him pick those out. So y'all be seeing that, and it's pretty funny. We had a good time filming that video. It was so fun. Anyway, so the next book I read was Kiss Me on Christmas by Sarah Monzon. I've never read anything by Sarah, but I really want to check out her backlist, because this book, this short little novella, packed such an emotional impact in me, because it had the representation for a child with autism and a mom going through all the motions. My heart. This was centered around Caitlin, who is a single mom with her 10-year-old son who has autism, and Liam is her son, and he kind of has this alphabet soup of diagnosis, as she says. In this book, he's got general anxiety disorder, ADHD, and autism, and my heart goes out in this story, because as an autism mom, I truly appreciated this story. It just touched my heart in so many ways. It was such a cute little Christmas novella. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I just loved it so much. You know, it's just like this cute Christmas romance. I could see it being like a Hallmarky movie, and I really loved how she tied in a child with autism in this story. In the author's note, she talks about how the character of Liam, the little boy in this story, actually was inspired by her own son, Elijah, So in this story, Caitlin is trying to have this balancing act, if you will, at Christmas time between her son and all his Christmas traditions that he's so used, because routine is important. He's so used to those. She's trying to keep everything as routine as possible. Everything gets kind of mixed up when her sister calls and says, hey, I'm getting married in 2 weeks on Christmas Eve. I think it was Christmas Eve? No, Christmas Day. And needs her to come and help. So they've already bought plane tickets for her and her son to come out there, the whole thing. And she is worried about keeping those same traditions and routines for her son, and how is she going to manage all of this, and everything goes on from there. On the plane, she ends up meeting Beckett Walsh, which actually ends up being her son's favorite YouTuber that he watches on YouTube. And I'm going to tell you right now, I loved Beckett. He was amazing. Yes, ma'am. He was just such a great guy, and just the interactions that he had with Liam, top tier. We love to see it. And so, of course, in romance fashion, they end up meeting back up after the plane ride, because so his friend Nolan is actually the one getting married to her sister. So you already know. So they just end up interacting together and having the best time, Christmas vibes, the whole thing. It was so good. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. Thank you so much, Sarah, for this story, because I really felt seen in many parts of this. My heart. Okay, are y'all ready for this next book? Because your girl is gonna need a minute, okay? If you need to take a pause, this is the time to do it, honey. Because, let's go. Okay, Pretty Little Pieces by Carmen Schober. Okay, what am I going to say? 3.5 stars. I have so much to talk about this book, y'all. I have spent a lot of time thinking about this book. This is a Christian romance. So in this book, we have Georgina and her boyfriend Lance, and they are what everyone calls the next Chip and Joanna Gaines, okay? They renovate homes for this TV network show they're on in Nashville, all that fun stuff. We love to see it, right? Everything seems like it's great in the relationship. And, you know, when I got into this, I didn't know what I was getting into, y'all. So the beginning of this started off and I was like, wow, we're going to have some stuff happening, okay? So Georgina is with her boyfriend Lance, like I said, and we're starting the story off. Literally, I think it was like page 15. Yeah. So this to me, or 17, to me it's not a spoiler to tell you all this because it's a trigger warning, first of all, but it just sets this tone for the story, and I think you all need to know. So on page 17, she ends up letting him know that she was pregnant and that she had a miscarriage, okay? Very early in the story. Very early in her pregnancy, he didn't know she was pregnant. He says, you were pregnant. I thought you're on birth control, this whole thing. He's like shocked that she's even telling him this, all this stuff. And he ends up basically saying, hey, I need to take a pause. Look here, Lance. Anyway, miss me with that, Lance. But anyway, so he ends up basically taking a break from her, and they're not together during this time period. He basically ghosts her. I mean, they've been together for 3 years, and he says, I gotta take a break, okay? And you're just like... So after that, the show takes some real suffrage at this point. You know, the directors, I mean, they can't really film them together, and it's this whole drama and everything. So she ends up leaving, Georgina ends up leaving from Nashville and going to this small town in Tennessee. And they talk about it being like in the upper Cumberland of Tennessee. It's a small town called Tarragon, Tennessee. I looked up the town. I think it's the fictional town because I didn't see that as a real city here. But yeah, they talked about Crossville and like Middle Tennessee. So that was cool to see since I live in Tennessee and love to see that. But she goes to Middle Tennessee in this little town. She starts like having a new project, trying to work on a new show, which is herself, her own new project, all this stuff, okay? This is when she meets another guy, Cassidy, and he's an ex-sniper from the military, and things get wild and take off from there, okay? They start to really like each other pretty much right off the gate. Now my thoughts. This book, I liked a lot about this book, y'all. The romance fell flat for me, so that's why it's a 3.5. I do feel like this book will be polarizing in the Christian fiction community just because of the topics and some of the things that we have in this. And there's a little bit of a spice level in the romance that I'll talk about in a minute that has been discussed back and forth and all that stuff, okay? So I'll get into that. But in my opinion, I personally really appreciate this author tackling these tough topics. So, especially in Christian fiction, because life's not all rainbows and butterflies, right? So I truly do appreciate her tackling these tough topics and not shying away from real life, okay? And in this book, we have topics, like I said, miscarriage, and of course, they're not married, substance abuse, drinking. There's some gun discussions as well, wavering faith. That's pretty much everything going on in this book, okay? Many people have these real life struggles that they face on a daily basis. This book could minister to someone. I guarantee it. It probably will. Someone will probably relate to this book, I guarantee. So again, I truly appreciate this book tackling those topics, okay? However, there are some things that I felt could have been handled a little bit better in those topics. I still appreciate that she had those topics discussed and the faith content the way that she did and tied it in, especially at the end. I really appreciate the faith. If we didn't have the faith the way we had it at the end, then I probably would give this 2 stars, okay? Because I was so conflicted while reading this book because I'm like, where is it going to come in? Where am I going to get with this, okay? Because I needed good faith content to tie this all in, okay? The faith content was good. She is the one who is really wavering in faith, doesn't really have a faith boundary or established, and he is helping her through all of that because he is a Christian and all these things go on. You know, these characters are not afraid to ask the faith questions and they just have those discussions, and it felt very authentic and not preachy in any way. Cassidy, he was such a great guy. I liked his values. The ending kind of made me emotional a little bit. So yeah, just the faith revelations at the end of this book were really good. However, I just felt like the romance was, no, I did not. Here's what okay. The romance with this book. I'm sorry I'm going on a tangent. I'm at 6 minutes on this, okay? What makes this was almost a 4-star, but like the romance, missed me with romance. I did not like them together. I felt like there was no real chemistry, and I'm not bashing this at all. I truly feel like this is an important book because of all the topics talked about. However, the romance, I felt like this girl went through so much in her life, and I talked about this to my friends. This girl needed therapy before she jumped into a relationship. She had been through some hard things. We've got drinking, drug abuse, miscarriage, and everything going on with the show. Her boyfriend of 3 years taking a pause. She doesn't need to jump into an insta-lovey relationship. However, I could see how he was helping her through her trauma and everything as well. So from a Christian perspective. So that's hard. It's like both back and forth, but they just had more of like an insta-lovey, lustful relationship versus like a sweet romance. You know what I'm saying? Now getting into the spice that we were saying, okay? So if you don't want to know about this, you can skip ahead, but I think people probably want to know about this because everybody's talking about this in this book, okay? For me, spice, you know, most everything I read is clean. Nothing really shocks me, though, because I've read Outlander. Okay. But in a Christian fiction, it's a little different, right? Y'all know. And in this book, I'm sorry. I read out loud some of the stuff to my friends, and we were like, hee-hawing about it, okay? But, like, honestly, some of the stuff I felt like could have been taken out. Let's be real. There's some of the stuff in the romance part around the 50% mark. I think if you've read this, you know what I'm saying, where the guy, and it's not spoiler, this is content, okay? This is pure content for me to tell you. In the middle of this book, he pulls her in the bathroom, and they're like, oh, there ain't no cameras around. What? Okay, what's happening? They're like, oh, is there no cameras around? And then they, start kissing and everything, and he ends up putting his hand up her shirt. That's explained. I can't remember if there was, like, tongues mentioned. I can't remember. It was a little overboard for a Christian fiction, I will admit. I think we could have done without that, right? Just my opinion. It didn't necessarily bother me, but I mean, for a Christian fiction, it's like, what did they just say? So I could have done without that. But I can respect at the same time that she is saying, don't stop. And he's like, well, we need to pump the brakes here and that was great. From like a Christian perspective, that normally the girl is the one saying let's slow down, and this time the guy is. So there's some good things in that, but yeah, that scene, honey, y'all, sorry, I'm just laughing thinking about it because I was like, okay. So anyway, it was a little spice for a Christian fiction, okay? I just felt like it was too insta-lovey. Felt like that she just needed to work through some things personally before jumping into a relationship so quickly after everything had happened, and that's my thoughts, okay? Thank you, Carmen, for taking these risks to tackle some tough topics that need to be talked about in Christian fiction for more awareness in real life situations, because people will probably be ministered to in this. But again, like, it's 3.5. That's not a bad rating for me. That's a good rating. Like, I mean, this was addictive to read. I kept picking it up, right? I was like, I'm here. I need to know what happens next. But there are just some things that were hit or miss for me, and the romance was a miss for me on this. So yeah, I like the guy, but again, I still just feel like she had too much going on. So anyway, 3.5. I just want to have that discussion because I do feel like a lot of people are going to be talking about this. This is a recent release. I read this from also on NetGalley, but I did purchase my own copy from Baker, and it was cool because they sent like a bookmark. I can't remember where it's at, but you know, little C.S. Lewis magnet quote. So that was nice. And so I've had that sitting up here. Love ordering from Baker. And so, yeah, I hope y'all that was okay to say, because, hey, like I said, we got transparency on our channel. That's how I felt about this book. So, and how do I move on from this? So, then I finished off the New Year's Eve, with One Christmas in Winter by Belle Renshaw. And all I have to really say about this is this was so cute. I had so much fun reading this. It's a Hallmark-style Christmas novella. It was sweet, adorable. Yeah. This is all about Reba. She is directing a Christmas movie, and her leading actor basically goes, like, he falls and hurts himself. He can't be in a movie. And so he's pretty much out of commission for the acting, okay? And so luckily she runs into this guy, Hoyt Bradley, H-O-Y-T is his name. And he has like a diner and everything, and that's kind of how she ends up running into him. But he is a previous actor, okay? Has some past stuff going on with that. But he agrees to help fill in as an actor, and the rest goes on from there as Hoyt and Reba pretty much start to get to know each other. Sparks are flying. You already know. There's some parts that's like really cheesy, super cliche, but I still had fun. It's a cute little Christmas read, and it's going to put you in the mood for Christmas. So, hey, yeah, that's what all I got to say. Cute little Christmas novella. And that's it. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for this. There's a little bit of tea, but I just hope that y'all enjoyed this video. And like I said, you know, I'm not somebody that bashes authors. I really truly believe in giving a honest review, and, you know, hey, let's talk about these things and how everybody feels about it and everything. But, you know, I truly feel, from my point of view, is let's have this honest discussion. Give a review that is honest but not bashing. You know what I'm saying? I've seen several reviews on the Pretty Little Pieces book that's like complete out bashing, like all caps kind of stuff, and I'm like, come on. Like, let's just be honest and have the conversation in a nice way. And if this book is not gonna be for you, DNF it, put it down, but don't sit here and just bash the author for what they did. In my mind, you know, like, I just don't agree with that. But anyway, so I hope that y'all enjoyed this video. Thank you all for watching. Let me know down in the comments if you've read any of these books, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye, y'all.